What privilege do rich people have that they don't understand is actually a privilege? Been very, very poor and now comfortable. Not having to worry about bills is something I think rich people will never understand until it happens to them. It was awful trying to decide who to pay and dealing with the ones we couldn't pay. The stress was absolutely horrific. I honestly just can't imagine a world where money wasn't a constant ache in the back of my mind. Gotta pay rent, gotta pay for food, car broke down, time to empty our savings again and eat ramen for a month. So I'd say the privilege they are least aware of is not having that sword of destitution around every corner constantly dangling over their head. Being able to afford good legal representation. Chasing your dreams. Access to a competent lawyer who has time for them. Comfortably doing an unpaid internship as a student. Being able to eat something different all the time. As someone who grew up poor, went to a rich private college on scholarship. Understanding the norms of upper middle and upper class life. Poor people raise their kids with different values, ways of talking, ways of thinking, accents, different skills, etc. It was a steep learning curve for me. Having to check how much you have in your bank account before going into a store. Not having to worry about little things that take up poorer people's days, i.e. yard work, shoveling snow, cleaning the house. Having money to fix whatever is wrong in your life. Having options and choices. Privilege to fail and have a fallback. Freedom from the constant overhanging worry about money. Being able to have the heating on 24/7. Keeping their teeth grimacing face. Easier access to top professional services. I have met rich people that think they are poor, rolling on the floor laughing, rolling on the floor laughing, rolling on the floor laughing. Choices. Food. They can eat whatever they want whenever they want. Food. I used to listen to rich corporate guys talking about their kids' internships and how important they were to making connections. Most of us poor slobs have to work for actual money. Being able to work for free to meet the right people is reserved for those with money. Time. If you don't need to work, you can do anything with the time you have. Your options open up exponentially. Time is our most valuable resource. The poorest of people have very little time at their disposal. Going to the doctor regularly and for emergencies and not fearing how much it will cost. Having people actually giving a shit about you and your opinion. Man. I don't consider myself rich, but reading through some of these comments makes me very grateful for what I've accomplished. And many probably would consider me rich. The gap between poor and wealth is enormous. Many of these comments are just describing middle-class privileges. The privilege of true wealth must be unfathomable. Taking a year off to travel the world. Backpacking through Europe is made to seem like a cheap vacation, but it's not. More money. Making money is easier if you already have it to begin with. Well, it's more of a middle class, or upper middle class thing, having a job where you can just take the day off for pretty much any reason without giving a big explanation and loading people up with proof that you need it. Kid is sick? Just call the supervisor and say you're not coming in. Family funeral? Of course, you'll be out for days, I'm so sorry for your loss. Feeling icky and don't want to get sicker? Just send a quick email that you're not feeling well, no questions asked. They don't have to check prices when dining out or going to the grocery. If you make a mistake, you can almost always fix the mistake if you have enough money. Speeding ticket? Pay the fine. You can't pay the fine, they take away your license, and then how do you get to work to pay the fine and fix it? When you don't have money, you have to avoid making any mistake or it will take you years to fix it. Easy opportunity. I swear to God, when you poor, people don't give you chances unless you work hard for it, and even then the amount of opportunities available are limited because of the lack of money. Having the money to replace any broken appliance or anything really in their home and never have to think about it. Oh, the water heater took a shit? I'll have somebody install a new one tomorrow. All the pettiness of life, standing in lines, traveling coach, skipping meals because you're waiting for payday, anxiety about not having enough gas money to get to work, the ability to live wherever they want, etc. They don't have to worry about bills. Not living week to week. They don't have to have a hard think before purchasing something. This was me once. Now in tears a lot, trying to think of how I'm going to pay this month's power bill. Options. An abundance of money gives you options, no matter what you may be facing. Those of us just getting by seldom have decent options, just the least objectionable of two pretty bad ones. Time. They forgot something at the store? Have your PA pick it up. They need something checked out? Same-day service. And on and on. Is privilege a privilege? I mean, I've met a number of well-off people who are oblivious to the notion. On the other hand, I've met truly wealthy people who appear quite aware of what they have, and of what others don't have, and they are not jerks about it. So I'll say the privilege is not giving second thought to their wealth. Being able to make mistakes. Travel. Even my more modest income friends are like, it's cheap if you do it right. Yeah, I'm struggling to afford food. Really depends on what one would classify as rich people. The ability to fail repeatedly. Many go through life thinking rules are merely suggestions to them because they can usually throw money or the promise, even if just by implication, of money at any problem, and someone will find a loophole or argument for why they are the exception. Nepotism, influence trafficking, networking, and the like are simply facts of everyday life, and they honestly don't realize how easy they make their lives in comparison to some random person's life, even one who's not broke as fuck. The peace of mind that financial security brings. It is pure agony to have to decide which bills you can pay while still keeping food in your fridge. Not having to choose between things, going on multiple trips internationally, extracurricular activities. As someone who grew up well off, I didn't realize these things weren't available to everyone until I went to a public high school in a different area from where I lived. I've gotten better as an adult now that I have my own financial responsibility, but sometimes I still end up kicking myself after a conversation when someone says something and I don't understand because I never had to experience that. Literally happened last week and I felt awful. Access to healthcare which keeps you healthy. Checkups, teeth cleaning, dermatology. They visit the doctor regularly, not just for the broken arm or heart attack. Being able to make mistakes and take risks without too much consequence. I made good choices. All you had were good choices. I think people who have median wealth in a rich country can forget just how much better off they are than 90% of people in most countries. Not just in terms of what they can afford, but the privilege of mostly living safe lives with a government that is on some level accountable by its people. All governments are severely flawed, but the working class in the UK can buy cheap clothes for their kids because the working class in Bangladesh are horrifically abused children. From one of Sir Terry Pratchett's books, The Boots Theory. Vims earn $38 a month plus allowances. A really good pair of leather boots cost $50. But an affordable pair of boots, which were okay for a season or two and then leaked like hell when the cardboard gave out, cost about $10. A man who could afford $50 had a pair of boots that'd still be keeping his feet dry in 10 years' time, while the poor man who could only afford cheap boots would have spent $100 on boots in the same time and would still have wet feet. Not having to be terrified of getting sick or getting into an accident. The ability to avoid crushing levels of stress day in and day out. I believe there have been studies showing people's brains being negatively impacted by long-term stress, and that poverty causes non-stop stress. So not having to worry if something happens, how might you afford what you need? Being poor every day, you hope that your car keeps going a little longer, since if it breaks down there is a good chance the expense will have to force you to choose which utility you can do without. Not having to worry about my car ever is a huge relief in and of itself.